What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another daily Manchester City transfer update. Before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Also, don't forget social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's update. We're aiming for 300 likes, and do get your thoughts as well in the comments below. So once more, we've got no contract news. We do have a little bit of news in terms of the outs, and we've got the very latest on Farid Alfa-Ruprecht. Now, after announcing his departure from Manchester City the other day, Bayer Leverkusen have now announced the signing of Farid from Manchester City's academy. Fabrizio Romano has said it's a total package worth £5 million, with Manchester City including a whopping 40% sell-on clause on this transfer as well. It means that any future money made in terms of Bayer Leverkusen selling Farid, Manchester City will get 40% of that final fee. Farid is a 19-year-old German winger. Wanted to wish him the very best of luck at Bayer Leverkusen, and also wishing him the very best for the future as well. Now, moving on to the ins, we've got the very latest on Tino Livramento, and I'm well aware of some of the rumours, or unofficial rumours, with not official sources putting their names to the claim, so to speak. So the latest that I can find that someone is willing to put their name onto is Graeme, who said that Manchester City are prepared to spend £50 million on Tino Livramento this summer from Newcastle. Manchester City had previously been reported as wanting to make a £65 million move for Tino Livramento, with Newcastle saying that City could make it £165 million and they wouldn't be willing to sell. And as far as I'm concerned here, Newcastle are preparing to offer Livramento a new contract with a better wage. We know that Manchester City are looking for a right back this summer, and I presume that all these rumours are coming about off the back of Alexander Isak telling Newcastle United that he wants to leave. And to be honest, if Manchester City wanted to bring Livramento in, then it would take Livramento to do what Isak has done, and that is to say that he wants to leave and he's willing to hand in a transfer request to make the transfer happen if Newcastle aren't going to play ball. But Liverpool have acted, some would suggest unprofessionally, some would suggest they've acted in their own best interest and what's not, but how Liverpool have acted isn't really how City would go about doing their business. They wouldn't lay threats to Newcastle United about we want your striker, and if you're not going to sell us your striker, we're going to make a move for the striker that you're interested in replacing your striker with, and then bring that striker in and then say, actually, we still want your striker as well, and we're going to unsettle him to the point where he's refusing to train and he's handed in a transfer request. Manchester City don't do their business like that. Manchester City, in terms of their relations with Newcastle United, aren't frictioned. They're pretty good, and to be honest, Manchester City and Newcastle's relationship over the last couple of years has been very good, and I can imagine that in terms of the football politics and Manchester City's ongoing battle with the Premier League and PSR, which Newcastle have been stung by PSR before, and City are leading the front in trying to bring about change in the Premier League, that Newcastle and Manchester City would probably want to remain friends. So I can't see this happening, if I'm being completely honest, and I just think it's complete hearsay. I know some could suggest that Livramento's maybe a bit unhappy that Newcastle are selling some of their best players this summer, but Livramento's very much an upcoming prospect, and I'm sure he'll be rubbing his hands at being one of the biggest and best prospects that Newcastle have got their hands on, and being one of the highest earners at the club, which I'm sure Newcastle are probably going to make him on his new contract. So I cannot see it happening. I hope I'm wrong, because I'd love Livramento at City. I can't see how Manchester City make this transfer happen. To me, it's very similar to the situation of what happened with Bruno Guimaraes last summer, which is Man City want to ask the questions. It's all very polite. City want to make the transfer happen, but unless the player expresses an interest in saying, I would be delighted to join you, I want to join you, I'm going to do everything I can to join you, which players do, but Livramento isn't going to do, I don't think. He's not done it so far this summer, and it just isn't going to happen. It didn't happen with Bruno G, and I'm sure some of you guys would say that City should be more ruthless, they should be pushing harder to try and make these signings happen, but it gets very complicated when it comes to Premier League politics. So normally I would agree if it was a club outside of the Premier League, I'd say that, yeah, City should be putting more pressure. If they've got option A that they want to go for, then you go all out for option A, and maybe City could do a little more here when it comes to Livramento, but maybe Man City are relaxed about the situation. Maybe Man City want to focus on new contracts, selling players and seeing what the squad looks like by the end of the window, and maybe City are relaxed about the right-back situation. Maybe City are happy to take it to the January transfer window and assess the market, or go into next summer. Maybe City aren't completely happy with the market. I don't know. We've not really had any word on it, but I imagine that once we get the James Trafford signing sorted and we start to see more outgoings and we're sorting out the contracts, I'm sure we'll have further developments, not just on Livramento, but other right-backs that City could target for the remainder of this window, because that's what we're looking at here. It's the missing piece of City's jigsaw right now, and we've got a perfect player in Livramento that I think would be excellent for City, but yeah, here we are. So anyway, moving on, we've got the very latest on James Trafford, and David Ornstein has said that James Trafford to Manchester City from Burnley is going to be a British record transfer for a British goalkeeper, surpassing that of Jordan Pickford's move to Everton for £30 million. Now, it had previously been reported that Manchester City had agreed a £27 million deal with Burnley to sign James Trafford, which I presume with bonuses here is going to take this deal to over £30 million. Now, it is going to be literally just over £30 million, because if City had met the buyback at £32 million, then it would have been reported that City have simply activated the buyback clause, because with our 20% sell-on clause and the £40 million buyback takes us to £32 million, which Burnley would then have to go and accept, and that's not been reported, and that's not the case. What has been activated in terms of the clause that took James Trafford to Burnley from Manchester City is the matching fee. So my impression and understanding is Newcastle have come back in for James Trafford, got right close to Burnley's valuation. I think Burnley have alerted Manchester City that they're going to accept the offer. Manchester City have then gone to the negotiation table with Burnley, and at the final hour managed to get the agreement sorted where they're going to match what Newcastle were willing to pay and sort out this sell-on clause, and James Trafford ultimately has chosen Manchester City as a club that he wants to join, and not Newcastle United. Newcastle United having a bit of a nightmare window at this moment in time. So that's my impression of what has happened with this transfer. James Trafford is going to be signing a 5-year contract at Manchester City until June of 2030. That will be done tomorrow on Monday. He's also going to be completing his medical at Manchester City, as confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, for tomorrow as well. So it could be a case where we see James Trafford announced in maybe the coming 24 to 48 hours, but very much looking like James Trafford is going to be Manchester City's 6th summer signing. Now, moving on, we've got the latest on Morgan Gibbs-White, and it is a situation I am keeping my eyes and ears open on. So David Ornstein has said that Morgan Gibbs-White was in talks last night with Nottingham Forest to sign a new contract there, rather than join Tottenham Hotspur this summer. Now, Manchester City had been linked with a 25-year-old English central midfielder earlier this summer, but they decided to move on to alternative targets and not go for Morgan Gibbs-White because they were unhappy with the price that had been quoted from Nottingham Forest, which started at £100 million and went down to £70 million, and he had at the time 2 years left on his Nottingham Forest contract. It turns out there was a release clause in this contract set at £60 million. I don't think Morgan Gibbs-White was overly that keen on a move to Tottenham Hotspur, because he's not pushed to make it happen. Nottingham Forest have really dragged their heels about it. Morgan Gibbs-White has rejected Tottenham Hotspur and he's decided to sign a new contract, which has now been announced by Nottingham Forest as of last night, where he signed a 1-year extension until the summer of 2028. So it is looking like Morgan Gibbs-White is going to be staying at Nottingham Forest this summer, which, to be honest, the transfer battle with what's been going on with Morgan Gibbs-White has been that strange and that unusual that I still wouldn't sit here and say 100% he's staying at Nottingham Forest this summer, because it may just be a case where they just wanted to up his release clause, and obviously Forest haven't made it public knowledge about his previous release clause. I'm certain there'll be a release clause in this new contract. Again, I don't know what it's going to be, but if I had to hazard a guess, I reckon we're looking at somewhere between £70 and £100 million, which was the figure that they were asking for from Manchester City. Now, Manchester City deemed it too expensive this summer. That was with him having 2 years left on his contract, and there has been some hearsay and speculation about whether City want to go back in for Morgan Gibbs-White next summer, where he'd have another year of experience, where if he has a really good season with Nottingham Forest once more, maybe City may want to make a move, or another top Premier League team may want to make a move or not, but the fact remains that he'll still have 2 years left on his contract next summer. If City have said he's too expensive this summer at 70 to 100 million pounds, if the stance doesn't change in the next 12 months, then next summer City are probably going to say the same thing, where he's just too expensive and they'll walk away and look at alternative targets. Now, Manchester City may want to have a good look at their midfield once more, because I am going to be keeping my eyes on what happens with the futures of Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan. Both them players, their contracts expire at Manchester City next summer, and we don't know what's happening with Mateo Kovacic either, with his contract expiring the year after. So at the moment he's got 23 months left on his contract, and Manchester City could be having another good look when it comes to central midfielders, which means if City do want to go down the homegrown route, then they could have a good look at Morgan Gibbs-White. But we'll see what the next 12 months does hold. Morgan Gibbs-White is going to try and get into the England squad to go to the World Cup. To be honest, I'd have thought he'd have been in a better position to do that at Spurs, playing in the Champions League, than he would with Forest. But of course, now with Nottingham Forest playing in the Europa League, Morgan Gibbs-White wants to commit and stay there. So I don't blame him on signing a new contract. Morgan Gibbs-White, I'm sure, won't be stupid. He'll know that there's a release clause in there as well. And as I've said before about the importance of relationships, Manchester City's relationship with Nottingham Forest isn't too bad as of right now. It's certainly better than Nottingham Forest's relationship with Tottenham Hotspur, and if they're the two choices about who Forest wants to go into negotiations with to sort out a potential transfer perhaps next summer for Morgan Gibbs-White, they'd prefer to sell to Manchester City. In fact, they said it just a week ago when they said that they'd prefer for Morgan Gibbs-White to join a big Premier League team who win trophies like Manchester City rather than joining Tottenham Hotspur. So gloves very much off when it comes to Nottingham Forest and Tottenham Hotspur. City may be caught in the middle ground here, but it all depends on, do they want to make a move for Morgan Gibbs-White? It's not going to happen this summer. There is the possibility that it could happen next summer, because we don't know what's happening with Bernardo Silva, with Kovacic and Ilkay Gundogan as well. And if City do want to go down that homegrown route, then there is that option of Morgan Gibbs-White, but it all depends here on the price and how much City are willing to pay. Concrete interest back in May, City chose to make a move due to price for other players in June, and we may want to strike this up again when we head into next summer. So we'll see. Very interesting. So they have been my thoughts. Do let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. Don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up on the video. We're aiming for 300 likes. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new around here. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day with all the latest City transfer news here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. It is free. Social media links are in the description as well if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll see you all again real soon for the next Manchester City transfer update, which will be tomorrow, religiously. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.